When the word heartbeat casually floated through the air during the official reveal of the stage, few people realized it was not just a playful label, but a quiet warning, because the moment the lights softened and the music breathed its first note, logic quietly stepped aside and emotion took the lead, and when Songyun and Hou Minghao appeared side by side, something shifted, not loudly, not dramatically, but unmistakably, as if the room itself leaned in to listen. This was not a performance that chased difficulty, shock value, or explosive intimacy, but one that understood the most dangerous sweetness often lives in restraint, in pauses that last just a fraction longer than expected, in glances that stop short of confession yet carry its entire weight. And Songyun's smile was not a polished stage expression, but a living reaction, warm with curiosity and faint shyness, while Hou Minghao's gaze never tried to dominate the moment, instead offering a steady, measured presence that adjusted instinctively to her rhythm, making the audience realize that what felt like simplicity was actually precision at its highest level, rather than relying on close embraces or obvious romantic cues. They chose distance as their language, crafting emotion through timing, space, and mutual awareness, their movements aligned without rushing, their turns offset by half-beats that felt intentional rather than accidental, creating tension that never demanded attention yet refused to be ignored. And this was the kind of sweetness that did not shout but seeped in slowly, drawing viewers into an emotional field they did not consciously choose to enter, where eye contact felt private rather than performative, and every withheld movement made the air heavier. What made the stage truly unforgettable was Songyun's transformation into the quiet controller of emotional flow, her gestures minimal yet clean, her expressions rare but exact, each glance shaped by music rather than ego, projecting a confidence built from years of refinement, while Hou Minghao revealed a maturity that went beyond youthful energy, becoming a partner who understood that the most powerful gesture is sometimes restraint, consistently grounding his steps, adjusting his intensity, and leaving space for her to breathe, and in doing so, communicating a message more intimate than physical closeness. I see you, I respect you, and I am willing to meet you where you are. This mutual trust elevated the stage into something that felt less like choreography and more like a fleeting emotional truth witnessed by chance, amplified by thoughtful camera work that resisted exaggeration and allowed authenticity to unfold naturally, letting viewers feel rather than be told what to feel, which is why so many found themselves inexplicably drawn in, unable to pinpoint a single highlight, yet compelled to rewatch every second, filling the silence with their own interpretations, discovering that romance does not need to cross boundaries to be intoxicating, and that propriety can be far more stirring than provocation, in an era saturated with loud emotions and manufactured intimacy. This performance stood out as a rare reminder that gentleness, when paired with confidence and respect, can be devastatingly powerful, leaving behind not a fleeting thrill but a lingering warmth that settles quietly and refuses to fade. And as the music ended and the lights dimmed, the stage concluded. But the emotional aftertaste remained, spreading softly through the audience like a memory revisited rather than a moment consumed, and what followed in the silence afterward was perhaps the most telling reaction of all. A collective pause where applause arrived a beat later than expected, not because viewers were unimpressed, but because they were still emotionally catching up, still processing what had just unfolded in front of them. As if the performance had reached into a private place and touched something unspoken, something long forgotten in an age where emotion is often delivered loudly, quickly, and without subtlety. Watching Songyun hold herself with such ease, never rushing to display charm, never forcing vulnerability, felt like witnessing a performer who fully trusted the audience to meet her halfway, and that trust was rewarded, because every slight tilt of her head, every restrained step forward, every fleeting look that lingered for half a second before pulling away carried meaning, inviting viewers to lean in rather than pushing them to react, and Hou Minghao mirrored that philosophy with remarkable discipline, choosing steadiness over spectacle, choosing attentiveness over assertion. his presence acting not as a spotlight stealer, but as a quiet anchor that allowed the emotional atmosphere to remain balanced and safe, which is precisely why the chemistry felt sincere rather than manufactured. There was a sense that neither of them was performing romance in the conventional sense, but rather embodying a shared emotional understanding that exists before words, before labels, before expectations, and this is where the performance transcended the stage and entered the realm of lived experience. Because anyone who has ever felt drawn to someone yet chosen restraint, anyone who has ever understood that respect can be more intimate than touch, could recognize themselves in this exchange, could feel the unspoken agreement unfolding between them with every measured movement and deliberate pause. The absence of exaggerated choreography became a strength, allowing micro-expressions and subtle shifts in body language to take center stage, reminding viewers that true emotional depth often hides in details so small they can be missed if one is not paying attention. And this demanded something rare from the audience as well, a willingness to slow down, to observe, to feel rather than consume, which may explain why the performance continued to grow in impact long after it ended, spreading through discussions and replays as people returned again and again, discovering new layers each time, a softened smile they hadn't noticed before, a moment of eye contact that suddenly felt heavier, a pause that now seemed deliberate rather than accidental. This slow burn effect stands in sharp contrast to performances designed for instant virality, and yet it is precisely this quiet confidence that gives the stage its lasting power. Because it does not exhaust itself in one viewing, but instead invites reflection, encourages imagination, and rewards patience, offering a kind of emotional nourishment that feels increasingly rare. Tan Songyun's calm authority over her emotional expression signals a performer who no longer seeks validation through exaggeration, who understands that stillness can be as commanding as motion. While Hou Minghao's choice to temper his energy speaks to an understanding that partnership is not about dominance or display, but about adjustment and care, about listening as much as leading, and together they created a space on stage that felt protected, intentional, and deeply human. Even the way they entered and exited the performance carried meaning. Never rushing to claim the spotlight, never clinging to the final moment, allowing the ending to dissolve naturally rather than insisting on closure, which left the audience suspended in feeling rather than neatly resolved, and this unresolved quality is perhaps the most powerful aspect of all, because it mirrors real emotion, which rarely arrives with clear beginnings or endings, and instead lingers, evolves, and quietly reshapes perception over time. It is in this lingering that the performance achieves its greatest success, not by telling a complete story, but by opening a door and allowing viewers to step inside with their own memories, desires, and interpretations, transforming the stage into a shared emotional space rather than a one-sided display. In doing so, Tan Songyun and Hou Minghao offered something more meaningful than spectacle. They offered resonance, and in an entertainment landscape increasingly driven by volume, speed, and intensity, this choice feels almost radical. A gentle rebellion that reminds us of the enduring power of subtlety. The more one reflects on the performance, the clearer it becomes that its strength lies not in what was shown, but in what was intentionally withheld, the touch that never happened, the words that were never spoken, the emotions that hovered just beneath the surface, creating a tension that felt alive, controlled, and deeply respectful, proving that sophistication in emotional expression does not come from excess, but from understanding where to stop. This understanding is what elevates the duet from a momentary stage to a reference point, a quiet example of how connection can be portrayed with integrity and depth, leaving audiences not overstimulated but gently moved, not overwhelmed but thoughtfully engaged. In the feeling with them long after the lights go out. Thank you for staying until the end of this story. If this restrained yet profound duet between Tan Songyun and Hou Minghao moved you even slightly, please support the channel by subscribing to 24H News TM, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Which moment made your heart pause? And do you believe this kind of quiet sweetness is more powerful than overt romance?